Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 473. I'm Phil Graham. Today, I've got a great episode for you guys. We're going to be talking about the 3 questions I ask before touching a Facebook or Instagram ad that is not working. So most advertisers jump into Facebook ads and they're looking and they're like, oh, I don't like what's going on here. And they just immediately start changing things. It might be the headline, it might be the creative or the audience or the budget or other things, or maybe all of those things. But the problem is, if you don't know what you're trying to fix, and more importantly, if you don't know why it's not working, then every change is just like a blind change. You're just literally like throwing darts blindfolded, hoping for the best. So in this episode, I want to walk you guys through the 3 questions that I ask myself before touching any Facebook or Instagram ad or campaign when it's not working. These questions will help me slow down, look at the account clearly and in a focused manner, not emotionally. And many times it helps me avoid making changes that could actually cost money and time. So this should be a really important episode for everybody. Before we dive into that, if you guys are needing any help with your ads or your AI, whether that is to have them done for you or you want some one-on-one help for either one of those things, just go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital, and we can set up a short Zoom call, and I would love to connect with you. So let's talk about these 3 questions. It is so important. You don't just want to blindly start changing things without knowing what's going on, without a strategy. So question number 1, when I see an ad not working, I ask myself, is this an actual problem with the ad? Is it a problem with the audience? Maybe it's a funnel problem. Maybe it's an offer problem, or maybe it has nothing to do with the ad at all, and it's a conversion problem or something on the other side of the ad. So that's my thought process behind question 1. This is definitely the biggest, most important question, because when something's not working, here's what I want you guys to do. This is very important. If you do this, you'll be doing something that probably 99% of other advertisers don't do. You need to find out why it's not working. It's not enough to know that it's not working. Anybody can see that. If you don't know why, then how can you fix it without just blindly making changes? And when you're blindly making changes, that costs you money. So you've got to know why. You can't just assume. You can't just be like, oh, it must be this. Don't assume anything. Find out why. So what I typically do in answering question 1 is I use data to try and help me answer that question. I might have an ad that has an amazing click-through rate that's doing really well. If that's the case, that may tell me, not always, but it may tell me that the problem is not the ad or the audience. It might be the offer, or it could be something on the other side of the ad. I've had situations where an ad was absolutely amazing in the data, but nothing was happening. No sales or leads were happening on the other side. And when I then checked that out, sometimes there was like a clear problem. Maybe the site was loading slow or some technical issue. But if I would have just changed the ad, it wouldn't have mattered because the ad was actually doing great in the first place. So you don't want to just automatically change stuff. Use data to tell you where the issue might be and why things might be happening. Maybe the ad is horrible. If it's got a horrible click-through rate and other factors, then you have to decide, well, what about it made it bad? Was it the audience or was it the ad itself? And if it was the ad itself, what was it in the ad? Was it the headline? Was it the image or the video? Was it the hook? The more you do this, the better you're going to get at identifying this stuff. And then you want to make small changes one at a time and see how that change affects things. Don't do what most people do, just blindly change stuff and hope for the best. Always ask yourself, why did this happen? Why did this ad not work? And you're not always going to know the exact answer without further testing. But if you ask yourself that and then do further testing, you're going to have a way better chance. You're going to be ahead of so many people. It's crazy. The second question I ask myself is also super important. It's, do I have enough data to make this decision? This is one of the biggest things that I see advertisers making mistakes with. They have a bad day or a couple bad days, an ad isn't working or maybe stops working after it was, and they panic and freak out and change it. A couple bad days is nothing unless you have like a huge budget. Even then, you need to give it more time. But certainly for most people, a couple bad days is nothing. I'll give you an example. Let's say I launch a brand new ad today. It's just got a normal budget, not some insane budget. There might be an advertiser that spends millions a month where it would have a large budget, but let's just say it had a normal budget for, most everyday advertisers. I'm going to let that run typically at least a couple weeks before I make any judgments or any decisions. Because if not, I'm reacting way too quickly in many situations. There are a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I want to get a decent amount of clicks. I need to get enough reach. And if I just shut it off way too soon, that's something I consider a huge mistake. So you have to have not only the right data, but have you given it enough time? Don't just let it run for a couple days and then panic and change it. Give it enough time. Bad data can make smart people make dumb decisions. And I would also say not enough data can make smart people make dumb decisions. And not only dumb decisions, costly decisions. So make sure you guys remember that. And then last, question 3, I ask myself, what is the smallest useful change that I can make? Like the easiest, quickest, useful change. If something's not working, and then let's say I've kind of identified, it's the ad in this example. Maybe the ad is the issue, and it's been running long enough to where I have enough data where I'm confident in that. Then my next question is like, what can I change that will give me a good bang for the buck? It doesn't mean I have to change the entire thing. In fact, if I change the whole thing, then there's going to be all kinds of variables I've changed and I won't know what really made the difference. So what I'm looking at changing is, what if I just change the headline? Or what if I change just the image and leave everything else the same? Or the video? Or what if I keep the image or the video and the headline, but I change the beginning hook at the top? I'm looking for little things that can make big differences. And I only want to have one variable in my change so that I know whatever the result was, the change I made caused that to happen, that one variable. So the goal for me is not to touch everything, not to change everything. It's to make one smart move at a time and then give it long enough to run so I've got enough data to see what happened because of that. And then I get smarter and smarter and smarter based off of data, not guessing. And then I make future decisions based off of data, not guessing. So my friends, before touching an ad that's not working, make sure you ask yourself these questions because they are so important. And as always, just a reminder, it's always important to point out that every business is unique. Results can vary. There's no guaranteed outcomes. So always keep that in mind. Episode 473 is in the books. Thank you guys so much for being here. Next week, I've got a great episode for you guys. We're going to be talking about how much data is enough before you make a decision, because that is such a big mistake a lot of advertisers make. So make sure you guys check that out next week. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch, philgrahamdigital.com is my website. And I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I will talk to you on next week's episode. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Happy June, my friends. I will talk to you next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.